You're listening to the Quint's podcast.
Laidback, insufficient, and unprepared are just some of the words used in a report by the Parliamentary Committee of IT to describe the efforts of the Union Communications Ministry in rolling out 5G technology. Now, 5G trials in India are set to launch in March, but the 125-page report titled India's Preparedness for 5G, released on 8 February and prepared by a 31-member committee comprising members across party lines from both houses of parliament, concluded that India has not gone beyond the initial stages of preparation as compared to other countries. So much so that India may actually miss the 5G bus. The committee also states that its concerns for 5G deployment are enhanced by the fact that previous network technologies like 2G, 3G, and 4G were all deployed later in India when compared to the rest of the world. The committee has raised several issues with the Department of Telecommunications' current preparedness on 5G, one of the biggest being the unit price of spectrum, which is in the range of 3 to 70 times more when compared with other countries. While some countries like the US, UK, Australia have already introduced 5G services, India is running behind all other players. Where does India stand in 5G deployment? What are the obstacles, and by when should we expect it in India? To answer these questions, for this episode, we spoke to Sanjay Kapoor, who is the former CEO of Bharti Airtel India. You're tuned in to The Big Story, the podcast where we dissect the headline-making news for you, and I'm your host, Himmat. Now, the report was made after the committee heard views from several players, namely the Union Ministry of Communications, Cellular Operators Association of India, and the Telecom Equipment Manufacturers Association. The committee also took evidence from the Department of Telecommunications and Telecom Regulatory Authority of India twice. It also called on telcos including Reliance Jio, Vodafone Idea, and Bharti Airtel Limited. As we said, the standing committee raised several concerns, but the key issues are regarding the delay in setting up of support structures for 5G, the auction of spectrum to telecom service providers, and the unreasonably high price of spectrum, which the TRAI has quoted to be Rs 492 crore per megahertz. Now, for the uninitiated, here is a brief explainer on what is 5G. Think of 5G as a 100 times faster version of 4G. Just like 4G, 5G is also based on the same mobile networking principles. According to Qualcomm, 5G is capable of delivering speed up to 20 Gbps with a 100 times increase in traffic capacity and network efficiency. To give some context to that speed, imagine downloading a full HD movie in just 3 seconds or playing your favorite videos in HD without any buffer. That's how fast 5G is. Now back to the report. The preparedness of 5G rollouts in India is described best by the Parliamentary Standing Report, Laidback. And the reason for this revolve around the cost of setting up 5G networks, the unit price of 5G spectrum, and the bureaucracy involved in implementing this technology. According to Sanjay Kapoor, the former CEO of Bharti Airtel India, apart from the cost involved in setup, telcos require a return on their investments, given the amount of money they are putting in to enable this technology, especially when it comes to 5G.
The cost of the raw material, which is spectrum, is so expensive in India compared to the rest of the world. Unlike 4G, 5G consumes or will take at least 100 megs of spectrum per operator. That in India, under the current terms, would be close to $8-10 billion, which is exceedingly expensive for the returns that they get on their capital deployed. And finally, and more importantly, it requires a complete restructuring of the backhaul and access as well. We could do away with 200,000 cell sites for towers for 4G, but for 5G, because it's going to move a lot indoors and based on use cases, there'll be much more densification that will be required. There are three basic propositions for 5G. There's high speed, there's latency, and there's Internet of Things. If I need to have a proposition of latency, I cannot have any dark holes. If there's a dark hole, then latency loses its meaning completely. And especially Internet of Things. Can you imagine there's a machine that I've installed somewhere that's connected and I am in a blind alley or a black alley, then how do you service that machine or device? So it becomes very difficult. So it's a challenge. So we need more sites like rest of the world is doing. We need more indoor coverage. We need sub-gigahertz spectrum to do it. We need 100 megs of spectrum to manage capacity. And above all, we need right of way for fiber, because with 5G, there'll be densification of fiber. Without fiber to carry so much of traffic back, is going to become a nightmare. So I think we are challenged on all fronts, and that therefore you see that operators themselves don't seem to be very keen to be bidding. Everybody talks about being ready in some form or the other. Of course, incrementally, any equipment that you deploy today will be ready for the next generation to some extent. But does that mean they can switch on a button and launch 5G tomorrow? I think somebody must be kidding.
So, what is required to set up 5G in India? As Mr. Kapoor said, it is not as easy as flipping a button. 4G was an incremental setup on the existing networks, thus did not require any large capital expenditure. 5G, on the other hand, is a high capacity network and requires a lot of support infrastructure in terms of fiberization of our existing cell towers. Currently, in India, only 20-30% of our cell towers are fibered. The report also highlights another issue, which is the bureaucracy involved in laying optical fiber wires in India. Approval from multiple agencies, from state governments to residential welfare associations, are required to lay wires, and these vary according to cities and states. The TRAI in the Standing Committee report recommended that states should make amendments in the Municipality Corporations Act or the Panchayat Acts to allow for speedy deployment of 5G. Another looming issue with 5G is the technological advancement in the network by Chinese companies like Huawei and ZTE, who are also one of the contenders for the 5G trials. According to the report, there has been a growing reluctance by other countries to allow import of Chinese 5G technology due to security concerns. The UK and US have already banned Huawei over the same. The report states that adequate precautions should be taken before installing telecom equipment from Chinese sources, and that inbuilt safety measures should be put in place. But should India take the Atmanirbhar route and build the technology ourselves? Is there an upside to using Chinese 5G technology? Mr. Kapoor weighs in.
What the government wants to do on Atmanirbharta cannot be debated from a uh, philosophical viewpoint. Of course, every country should aim towards being Atmanirbhar. But here we are playing with very contemporary technology, and we cannot afford to go wrong or substandard on what we produce. So as long as we can produce anything that compares with the rest of the world, because nobody is going to give us any benefit of doubt to say, oh, you, because you manufactured in India, I will allow you to have substandard stuff. Nobody will allow you. The customer expects the best service. The international content providers and people who bring in all the content from all over the world want the best technology for best customer experience. So I think everybody has very high expectations, but you cannot wish away the fact that why is India not Atmanirbhar on these things? We should be, if we can. So I have no problem with that. I think the timelines is only the issue. Will we take, because companies like Huawei got created over probably 2 decades. It took about 15, 20 years to create those companies with full backing of the state. And they mastered. When they came in, we thought they are only price players, but over time they really became technology experts as well. And today, many believe that in 5G they are second to none, right? They're as good as the game gets, and their investment into future technology is also great. So they were fully backed. So if they can do it, we can do it. But I think it will require a lot of might from the government to back somebody fully, to say, okay, go build something that's world class for the whole world, and then we can be really dependent on what we produce. But while I say that, whether Huawei should participate, Chinese should participate, not participate, it is both an economical issue at an end, and it's also a political issue. So I don't think I should be getting there, but I can only tell you the merits, of or the demerits of them not being there. So one of the things that India benefited is that with these Chinese operators coming in, they could actually, in competitive bids, get better pricing out of their European counterparts, because they always had the fear of losing it to the Chinese. Chinese came in, they didn't take all the networks, but it definitely brought the price of technology down for existing players. And with such a player missing, that pressure goes away. So will the Europeans get back to their pricing, or will they continue to support us now that the prices are down at much more effective? Only time will tell you. But the world has seen that as the structure of the industry changes from an oligopoly to a duopoly, then pricing
Pricing of 5G
tends to go
setup
up.
and the price of spectrum is a big contention for telecom companies. But the problem of affording 5G technology is not limited to telcos, but also expands to the customer's wallet. Now, if you're thinking that your existing 4G smartphone can support 5G, the answer is sadly no. However, there are a wide variety of 5G compatible smartphones which are already available in the market, though on the higher end of the budget. But Reliance Jio is planning to introduce a 5G smartphone for less than Rs 5,000 and is estimating to reduce the price further in the range of Rs 2,500 to Rs 3,000. 5G will not only make our smartphone experience better, but will also open up avenues for advancement in other fields like medical, infrastructure, and even manufacturing. But with the extent of intrusion technology already in our daily lives, should privacy regulations change? According to Sanjay Kapoor, privacy policies should not be limited to the current state of technology, but should be modified with change.
5G is a new era. It is an indoor era. It is a used case era. It is an era of great experience. It will give you applications that may not have been possible on previous technologies. But we all have to be mindful that eventually the services will be sustainable if we are willing to pay for them. I mean, somebody has to pay for it. Either the government subsidizes or the consumer pays, or the operators don't make any money, which is not possible. So I guess India clearly has a room where we need to pay for the services that get accorded, and as long as we are willing to do that, which we should be, because it's roti kapda makan and Wi-Fi now. So if that is the pegging order of Maslow's hierarchy, then I think we can't live without this technology. And if we want a great experience, then we need to pay for the experience. And of course, regulation needs to make sure that we are not cleaned up, and for that industry structures help. So as long as there are 3 or 4 players in the market, they will all jostle for the space in the market and compete, and therefore not take away monies from customers unnecessarily. And if that changes where it's only 1 or 2 players, then it becomes more closer to monopolistic, and therefore the customer ends up paying perforce more amount of money. I guess we have got road to cover, but right now we really need to get onto a playing field where it makes sense for the companies that are getting into these businesses to be sustainable, so that they can provide great experience and service to us going forward.
Maslow's hierarchy of needs may have an impact with the introduction of 5G speeds to our homes and our devices. But given the realities and history of setting up new networks in India, the only question right now is, when would we get to use 5G? If you liked listening to this episode, please subscribe to The Big Story for episodic updates. We're available on Apple, Google Podcasts, Spotify, JioSaavn, and most of the other popular podcast streaming platforms. For other podcasts, please log on to the Quint website, and for any feedback, please shoot an email to podcast@thequint.com.
Thanks for listening. Log on to the Quint's website and check out our other podcasts.